Hi, everybody. Welcome to this lecture on visual literacy. When dealing with visual literacy, the first thing that should be explained is the difference between vision and visuality. This is the question that my students always ask me. Well, vision is what you can see using your eyes, using your physiological eyes, and how you name what you see as being a person, an animal, a thing, or a combination of two or more of these, or what may refer to an abstract idea, and how these detected elements are labeled in your language and in your culture. For example, let us take the photograph of a veiled woman, a woman wearing a veil. What is depicted in the photograph is a veiled woman. Yet, some people will see first the veil, others will see first the woman, and others will see the veiled woman, that is the woman plus the veil. Now, suppose that this veiled woman is a well-known scientist. Most people will see the scientist, not the woman. Others will see the woman scientist. Some women will see her as a role model, but no one, or maybe very few, will pay attention to the veil that the woman scientist wears. What does all this mean? This means that even when we see with our own physiological eyes, we are selective in our seeing. This selectivity in vision impacts on the interpretation of what we see. In other words, the selectivity in vision impacts visuality. That is how we make sense of what we see and how we interpret vision. So vision is what we see. Visuality is how we make sense of what we see, how we interpret our seeing. This unconscious process of selectivity depends on who we are, which sociocultural environments we have been raised in, our frames of reference, tastes, likes and dislikes, affiliations, ideologies, religious beliefs, and also on personality traits that operate at the level of the self and the intrapersonal level of communication that constitutes the internal stimuli that interact with external stimuli that interact with external stimuli of visual elements to which we are exposed. In order to make sense of the world, including its visual dimension. This is why visual literacy is highly important to make sense of the visual culture in which we live. As we have seen in the 5 principles of media literacy, that all media are constructions, And as we have seen in TV literacy, key concepts that television is manufactured. Visual media are constructions too. They do not mirror reality, but they construct reality. It is to be highlighted that images, be they still images or moving images, are not pure reflection of what happens in the outside world, but they filter reality through the lenses of producers of images by prioritizing some elements over others and by deciding which focus and which depth to give to the picture or image. Here, too, key questions of media and information literacy should be asked. Who produced the image? When was it produced? In which sociocultural context it was produced? For which purpose was it produced? What is the target audience? What are the embedded values? Whose voices are heard and whose voices are discarded? What are the implicit or implied meanings? What are other possible interpretations than yours? Is there any text associated to the image? If so, how does it corroborate the meaning you inferred from the image, and how does it help you to understand what is behind the image? Is the photograph produced by a reporter or a journalist, or is it bought from specialized agencies in photo making like Getty? If made by journalists, what do they highlight? If made by Getty, the first question to ask is, does the photo refer to the event and the discussion, or is it a pre-planned photo designed to suit different contexts, but with no relevance to the event reported in the news article? This is why Foster pertinently defines visuality as how we see, how we are able, allowed, or made to see, and how we see this seeing and the unseen herein. Many people confuse seeing with believing. As the famous statement says, seeing is believing. With this new knowledge that you have learned now, you should know that there is no automatic link between seeing and believing. You should not believe all that you see for many reasons. First, there is a risk that the image has been manipulated to make you believe in particular interpretations, have particular attitudes or courses of action. Second, the image might be fake in the sense that it has added or deleted important information from the source image to orient your interpretation, views, and attitudes towards a particular direction based on inaccurate information. Third, the image is decontextualized in the sense that it was taken from a different context and it is inserted inaccurately to support false information in a completely different context, in an attempt to play on the emotions of audiences and impact their interpretations, trying to make them believe that the image reflects what the text talks about. Fourth, it is important to highlight that as there are cultural values of news, there are also cultural values of images. Images should be contextualized and interpreted not only with reference to the event at stake, but also with reference to the social and cultural context and political dynamics. In conclusion, we should advocate strongly visual literacy in an age marked by alternative truth and disinformation, where images are extensively used as a powerful means of disinformation. Unfortunately, average citizens tend not to question photos, images, and videos on the basis that they reflect reality, as they can see them and see what actually happens unfolding under their own eyes. Once again, seeing should not be automatically linked to believing, because there are many technology-based ways to manipulate the seeing that we see. Thank you for your attention. Now I open the floor for your questions. If you have any questions, I will be happy to answer them.